Hello everyone, this is the Cajun Gaming Guild, and today we're going to continue our little series on our little clicker defense game that we've been creating. I've decided to change the name up a little bit to Dark Ages Defense, just so that it would be easier to find in a search for Scratch. But I've also found that a lot of people's games are not, you're not able to find people's games in the search bar so easy. I'm not exactly sure why people claim there's like a rating system on your game, and if it's not for everybody because of something in your game, then it gets a rating and you can't take the rating off and then you can't find it in the search. Not exactly sure why that would apply to this game. There's nothing too scary or anything about it, but anyway, I am not able to find it myself using other people's accounts or anything, but again, I am putting the link down below in the description, so if you have a hard time finding it, you can just click on that link and it will bring you here anyway. So, since the last episode, I've added a few things. Okay, I added the iron node here. It's down here and it works as well. The stone node here. I decided not to play with the mountains. I'm just going to leave them alone as just a plain old graphic. It just makes it easier just in case later I have to move it or make it bigger. I don't want to have to mess around with the clicking part of it. So, today I also implemented now that these berries, forest, stone, and iron, they all will start to work now. They work perfectly. Well, almost perfectly. I did find a little bug, but I figured I would squish the bug here with you guys today. So right now, if I start my day, you're going to see our little bars pop up underneath each item. And our timer's ticking down, and when the timer's ticking down, you're able to click on it. Now you can just hold the click button down and you'll see that my food is going up slowly. I think I have it set to 10 seconds. And when you get to about 10 seconds, your food goes up one, and you can let go at any time, right? I can let go and it doesn't reset it or anything. And then I could go to wood, let's say, and I could start collecting wood if I wanted. And the same thing, I can't remember what the timer is on the wood. I think it's 10 or 15 seconds on the piece of wood. And that one works just fine as well. As you can see, stop whenever you want. Stone works. Stone's a huge timer. I think it's 30 seconds for a piece of stone. And again, all these will be adjusted as I play the game and see, it's taking way too long. Maybe that's too long. Maybe it's not long enough. It's all about balance and making sure that, the game is somewhat of a challenge. All right, so in saying all that, I'll explain a little bit about how this works, and I'm also going to show you the bugs that I've found. It's not a huge bug, and again, this one here, you'll notice I'm clicking on it. You don't really know that I am, but I am, and nothing is happening with the lake, and there's a reason for that. Okay, so we might as well start with the berry bush, and then I'll explain the lake as we get to it. Okay. So we have the regular code of going to the location where you want it to go. Okay, the berry bush, setting the size. If it's touching the mouse pointer, it flashes to the white to show that you can click on it. And when you receive the game start, or start game, forever, if the mouse is down and it's touching the mouse pointer, okay, not just if I'm pushing the mouse down here, it actually has to be touching this, all right? Broadcast gather food and wait 0.06 seconds. Okay, that's the code. That's that simple. All right. But something has to be receiving that code. All right. So if you go to your food bar here, um, it's there's a whole bunch of different code. Okay. So right away, I have when the green flag is clicked, you can broadcast start the game. Okay. It's going to broadcast to everywhere. And you're going to collect, set the collect time to 0 and set the collect time maximum to 10. And these, if you are copying, if you're watching along here and you're copying, make sure that these variables are, and I will show you, these are not for all sprites. These are for this sprite only. And the way you can tell that is it's under food bar collect time. It means it's only applying to the food bar. It's not applying to the castle. It's not applying to this sprite here. It's not applying to the background sprite. It's only being applied to the food bar collect time. All right. So you will notice that all my bars have those same two variables, but each and every one is only going to be for that specific bar. It will not, like, I can't change this wood bar variable from any other sprite but by the wood bar. It's only going to see it from here. Now, I could have taken the time and called this wood collect time and wood collect time math, but what's the point of that? All right, all that extra work for nothing. All right, as long as you know and understand, you're fine. All right, so that's that. You're going to collect that. And the reason why you set these two differently is for your percentage. Okay, so bars work on a percentage, and I'll show you that right here, right now. So every forever, okay, it's going to set the percentage, and that means what you see here as collect time divided by collect time max. So if collect time is 1 and collect time max is 10, that means it's at 1 over 10, which is 10%. So 10% of my bar should be filled. That's what it's telling it. And as it goes up, and since I have it I have it at 0.1, I believe. Every time it goes up 0.1. See? So it's going up really small increments. That's why you'll notice that it fills up the bar, but it's slowly filling up the bar. It's not like jumping up these big chunks. Some bars you'll see in games, they jump up like a quarter of the bar each second. Like, it depends on how much you have this set to. I could set this to 0.01 and even make it go up even slower. But again, that's going to affect the time. Right now I have it set to roughly, it's almost exactly to the second. So every second it's going to go up 1. All right, it's basically what it's set to right now. All right, so it's going to take, and you can see the timer going up. So it's about every second it goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, right, type of thing, till it gets to 9.9. And then once it gets to 10, it's going to reset back to 0 and increase my thing by 1 and then start over again. All right, that's how I have that set up. Let me hide this again and I'll keep explaining the code. So when I receive start day, so not when I receive start game, not when I push the green flag, only when I receive start day. Forever, if day start is equal to 1. So remember we talked about the toggle. I do not want you to be able to click on these unless the timer is ticking, okay? So right now it's at 0. It reached 0, so that's a bug, right? It's supposed to click off and give me my start day graphic again, but it did not work. So that's another bug, and it could be because I've shut stuff down. I did shut a few things down. So, and that's possible that could have messed up my code, okay? So we're going to look at that in a moment. So now, right now, I should be able to, I can't click anymore though. You'll see, all right? Even though my thing is not here, my new button for starting the next day is not here, because the timer is not ticking anymore, day start is equal to 0, meaning it's not on anymore, okay? And I better go back to the graphic of the food bar. So now I cannot click on these things anymore. There's no bar to see, okay? But the bug that I found is, all right, and there is a bug. I know you can't see it, but watch food here. I'm holding down here. Food just went up to 4, all right? The reason being is that I forgot to put a toggle at one important part, okay? The part where you actually click down on the food, the berry bush here, you'll see I do not have the toggle for if the day start is equal to 1, then you can do this. So it's allowing me to click on this and hold the button down for 10 seconds even though the day has not started yet. It's just a simple fix, but you'll see it's still working, and I don't want it to work. I want it to only work when the timer is clicking. So with you guys here today, we're going to fix that right quick. It's only going to take basically one piece of code. And what this code's going to be is if day start is equal to 1, that means it's on. Okay, that means that everything is a go. Then you can do this. All right. If it's not, though, I do not want you to do this. And I should have not put it in there yet because I need to drag the same code now. I need to drag this code into the castle. I need to drag this code into the forest. Anything that has that click on it. Oh, lagging a little bit here. Let's just see. So stones, lake, and iron. Okay, so I just dragged it to all of those places. Gonna get rid of that. And now I'm just going to simply put this, make sure it's in the forever loop, but make sure that all of the if mouse down stuff is inside the mouth of the day start is equal to 1. All right, it's pretty simple. So we need this one next. Oh, if fishing unlocked. So there's an extra toggle on this one. And remember how I told you guys earlier I would explain it to you? So later on in the game, during your castle upgrade, so you will be able to upgrade your castle, meaning stronger towers maybe. I haven't figured out all the details yet, but there will be an upgrade for using the lake, okay? And until you unlock it in the castle though, it's going to be off. I can click on this all I want and it'll never go up, okay? But once it is finally unlocked, it should switch fishing unlock to 1, which is on, and then I'll be able to use my lake. But it's going to check for that before it checks for the day start, because it has to be unlocked before it even checks for anything else. After it's unlocked, then it can check to see if it's the next day, and if it is the next day, then you can use the lake as normal, okay? So that's what that means. That's how that works. I'm just going to continue putting these in, and I think there's only the forest left, and I think we're good to go. So let's go back to the berry bush, okay, because I want to keep explaining. All right, or not the berry bush, the food bar. Okay, so now that would have squished that bug. So let's reset the game. We're gonna start the game so it still works fine. Should, like I say, you should test your game at every time you make a change. You should test it. Okay. So we're just going to simply click this, and now I'm just going to click on this and hold it for 10 seconds or more and make sure that we've squished our bug. Make sure that food does not go up. Make sure the bar didn't move, nothing. And I'm 99.999% sure that it did not. Yeah, it's been over 10 seconds. Now let's hit start there. The bar did not move. So we just squished our bug. And now that the timer's going, it works fine. All right. Again, that's to implement the pause feature so that when I hit the pause button, and which I have not done yet, but that'll be in one of the future episodes, then I want this timer to stop, and I want you to not be able to collect resources while paused, okay? That takes the challenge right out of it. But I still want you to be able to go read stuff. Let's say if you want to check out some tooltips or whatever, because I am going to have tooltips set up. You want to check out the upgrades in the castle. You want to check out the upgrades in the towers. You want to blah, 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 blah. Well, that'll give you time to do that while the time is not ticking, okay? Because otherwise, it gets to be a little frustrating that, I only have 5 minutes to collect resources and I don't even know what to do next. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm going to put the pause feature in there. But I do not want you to collect 100 food while the game is paused either, right? Because that just makes it too easy at that point. All right. So, in saying all that, let's go back to the berry bush, or the food bar, sorry. I'll explain everything here a little bit at a time. I've explained hide, so hide everything doesn't even do anything right now. I'm just leaving it there because it's part of the code that I just copied when I brought the code in for this, for the bar. That's the reason why I have that hide everything there is at the game over. Usually when I have game over screen or anything, it's going to shout out hide everything, and every single piece of graphic will have this on it. Okay. And all that does is it's going to stop all the scripts inside of the sprite. It's going to hide, and it's going to delete any clones that I might have tied to this, because this is definitely a clone. And I'll explain it how it works a little bit. If you've never ever watched the Griff Patch tutorials on these bars, he really explains it well. He's a good heck of a YouTuber when it comes to tutorials, probably one of the best ones out there in my opinion. And you can go watch his, but I will explain it. I said I probably wouldn't, but I will just because. All right, so this is the plan. Once the green flag is clicked, you start the game. I explained this, and once this happens, this is just basically to show the bars. Because, like I said, when this is not on, you don't see it. Bam, everything is hidden. Okay? But once you click start day, now it's showing again. Okay? When the timer runs out, it will hide again. And that's just, again, I want you to understand that, and I'm going to have it when the pause happens as well. When the game is paused, you are not going to be able to see it. All right, the bars, because I'm just showing you that you're not allowed to click on it anymore. And I'll probably put some kind of tooltip telling you, nope, can't collect until the time is going. All right. At this point, when you receive your start day, you're going to switch the costume to the base. Okay, so the costume is just three graphics. It has a base, which is a relatively long. It's not that long, but it's long, and basically it's a picture of the bar, half full here. The first half is full, the second half is empty, and it's just a picture. All right, and like I said, Griff Patch explains it really, really well. Then you have the empty slot, then you have the full slot. And you'll notice the position of my graphics in regards to the crosshairs. Okay, so this is way over to the left. There's a big space, and this one here is touching the crosshairs, and that's done on purpose. Okay, it's all about the positioning of the bar on this bar. Okay, I know that's might be a little confusing, but if you watch Griff Patch's tutorial, it does make a lot of sense. So what happens is, as your bar is empty, so right now this is going to be covering up this part of the graphic, and it's going to be on top of it. Okay, which creates this effect that my bar looks completely empty. All right, and as I increase the percentage value, this empty bar, okay, is going to start going up, and you're going to start seeing the lighter blue fill up. Okay, and as it gets to the halfway point, okay, and your code it's going to be checking for if percentage is bigger than 0.5, which is half. All right, once it does that, it's actually going to switch to this graphic and move it back here. Okay, it's going to move it back here so that when it starts filling up, well, it's going to continue looking like the blue bar is filling up because it's this bar now, and it's going to fill up all the way to here. And once that happens, it's going to reset everything and it's going to look empty again. All right, so, right? So now it's the empty bar you're seeing. Once it gets to half, it's quickly going to switch over. You can't even see the change. That's how fast it is. Like you didn't notice that it switched over to the other bar, to this bar. But it did. And now that one's moving. And it's looking like it's filling up. Once it gets to the end, it empties again. All right. Pretty cool idea. Probably never would have thought of that myself personally. So that's why it's a huge, huge, awesome idea that Griff Patch had. I don't know if it was his originally, but if it was, my goodness, it's an awesome idea, and it works perfect. All right. So you're gonna switch the costume to the base. So you're gonna paste a picture of the base here, wherever you want it. Okay. You're going to set the size to whatever size you want it. I have it set to 120%. Go to the front layer, go backwards 5 layers, and then you're just going to create a clone of yourself and paste yourself down. And then Before you do anything else, you're going to switch your costume to full, okay? And the costume full is this one here, all right? And then forever, you're going to point in the direction 90, which is to the right, meaning I want this graphic to be left and right, okay? I want you to go to this specific location, set the percentage, and that's going to show you what I needed to see. And if the percentage is smaller than 0.5, you're going to look empty. That's why it looks empty right now. But as soon as it gets above 0.5, switch the costume to full, and it's going to set the width to 46 times the size divided by 100. That may be a little bit confusing to you, okay? So the width, all right, is how, so width is all that is a variable that has been created. I created it because that's the variable that GriffPatch told me to make. You can call this whatever you want. I just copied what he had, probably. I might have made this myself. I don't remember. But I know it's a variable that you need to create, okay? And I do not think it's for this sprite only, but let me check. It is for this sprite only, so make sure it's for this sprite only. And all that this is going to be doing is just similar to all the other tutorials I've showed you guys when you're moving numbers around and you're just doing these simple equations, right? This is 55.19. That's what this adds up to. And what this is 46 is just a number that I put in, all right? Size is the size of your specific graphic right now, okay? And the size itself is 120, 120%. Remember that we set it at the start. We set it to 120. That's where it's getting that number. So 120 divided by 100 is 1.2. So it's 46 times 1.2. And you're always, always, always going to change. It's always going to be changing based on, all right? Oh, we got to start the game over here. Let's just see. You don't see anything moving. Why? Look, bam, it bounced all the way up to there. Just like that, right? Because it's not actually doing anything because I took that out. All right? So now it's working fine. And it's because this right here, see, it's changing X by, it's changing the position of the graphic by the width times the percentage. And so if you take this out, it's actually going to give you that number, this number multiplied by this number, the percent, and it's going to give you a number. So every time I click on it, that should go up. See, it's 43 now. And I'm 46, right? And so that's why this is what's telling your bar where to be. All right, this is the code that's telling your bar where to be in your graphic. And this is just calculating the size, all right, based off of where you've clicked it. And it should always be the same, this. To be honest with you, I don't even know if this ever moves. 55.19. See, it does not change. So this is based, I'm not exactly sure what this is for, but I think it has to do with the size of your graphic, and that's it. Just so it understands that it has to stay within this bounds and that bounds, and then you multiply that, and that just makes everything look smooth, all right? Again, GriffPatch would explain it better than I because it's his code, all right? So if you want to go check him out, he will definitely explain it a lot better than I do. All right, so in saying all that though, forever when you start the day, if your collect time is bigger than 9.99, and you have to set this number to whatever you want it to be. So I want it to be 10-second bar. If I want it to be a 5-second bar, I would move this down to 4.99. You always have to be a little bit underneath of your max, because once you get to that point, you want it to reset back to 0 and change the number of the food or wood or whatever you're collecting by 1, or 10 or 50 or whatever you plan on moving the number up by. That's up to you. It's your game, right? For me, it's going to go up by 1. And yeah, so that's for you to put the timer. So this is how you're going to manipulate it with upgrades later. So let's say that I bought an upgrade so that now my food collection is 10% faster. All right. Well, I want to reduce this time by 10%. How do I do that? Well, I'm just going to put in a code that it's going to be 9.99 multiplied by, all right, 10%, or negative 10%, which would give me a number like, let's say 9.1 or 8 or something like that, all right? And or 8.99. Okay, so when you do that, then it'll automatically do the adjustment for you in your code, and it will be 10% faster, right? It'll only take 9 seconds instead of 10 seconds to collect your berry. All right, that's where you would change that code right here. And it's not going to be too hard, and I'll show you guys how that works later, because that will be part of the code that I do. When I receive gather food, you're changing your collect time by 0.1. You could change this to whatever you wanted, and that's just going to increase or decrease the time that it takes again. But I want it set to roughly 1 second for every tick. All right, 1 second. Every time it gets to 10% of the thing, it's going to be a second. So it's going to take 10 seconds right now by holding this down. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So start day, hold this down. So it should be roughly 4 minutes and 50 seconds-ish when this is finished. See? Boom. So it means it's 10 seconds, and it's based off of this. If I switched it to 0.9, it would be a little bit longer. All right, it'd be almost like 11 seconds. But if I put 0.11, well, then it would be a little bit slower. And that's just how that works. Or a little bit faster, I should say. All right, so now when I start this clone, well, what starts this clone? Okay, where did that come from? Well, here it says create a clone of myself. So that part there is, so right here, the switch costume to base, the base gets put where you want it to. Set the size, go to front layer, and then create a clone of the base. Not create a clone of the little thing that moves back and forth. So this code here is set straight up just for the base. It's just for the one in the background. It's for this piece right here. That's all it's for. And when you start as a clone, it's going to point in the right, left direction. It's going to go to the specific location and show itself. All right. If day start is not equal to 1, well, what happens to it? Well, it hides. Okay. And that's what you want it to do as a clone. So it stays there. So that's how you're getting all 3 of these costumes to work together under one. You have to do it by clones. All right. And that's basically all the code in a nutshell. And each one of these bars is set up the exact same way. All right. The only difference is this part right here. So in the bush, it's giving a shout out to gather food. In the food bar I have here, when I receive gather food, so that means if I'm clicking on the tree, it's not increasing this one, it's only increasing the gather wood, because in this one I have cut wood. All right, so on the wood bar, it's only receiving the time increase when you receive cut wood. See? And that's how that works. That's just to be so that you can separate each thing individually. All right, I have it set up through events and broadcasts. All right, and again, the timer for the wood's different, the timer for the stone's different, right? And that's how you set all that up. All right, so I fixed the bug, I squished the bug, I have showed you guys the timer bars, I showed you the lake and why that doesn't work, the fishing unlocked. The only thing I haven't figured out is why when this ticks down to 0, okay, why it's not popping back up again, okay? So when I receive next day, go to front layer and show. So all we have to do is we're going to go to the code here. So I'm going to click on this. We're going to go to the timer code, and that's why. All right. I took the broadcast next day out, and the reason I did that was because I don't want this to stop. I don't want you guys to stop collecting, but I do have the set day start to 0. I will have to change that as well. I just haven't done it yet, and it's all for testing right at the moment. Okay. The reason why I took this out and I'm going to take that out is because I want the monsters to spawn when the timer ticks off, and I still want you to be able to collect resources while the monsters are spawned. Okay. The reason for this is it's still going to be challenging to figure out what you need to collect, deal with the monsters all at the same time. But once the last monster dies, then I want it to broadcast next day and set the day start to 0, shutting down the timer and allowing you to not collect anymore because there's no more challenge, and I want you to be at least somewhat challenged at all times. Okay? So then it will give out these broadcasts and set the variables to how you want them, and then you'll be able to actually see the button again. All right, so that it's not really a bug, it's just that I have it taken out for the future. All right, because in the next episode I'm probably going to cover the monsters they're spawning, where they're going to walk down this path to your castle. I have a few different ideas. There's a guy out there that I think his name is Fuel Elvin, whatever. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, but he has an awesome tutorial on tower defense games, and he has it set like an invisible line here on his path, and the creatures follow the path like perfectly. It works really well. I've actually done his tutorial start to finish, and it worked amazing. All right, I got it to work. But again, if you do want to watch his videos, he knows exactly what he's talking about. He's really, really good at this. But I also can do pathing a different way, and I'm going to probably use my way just so I don't copy this other guy's code. Okay, it's not all that difficult. It just takes time, and all it is just basically moving your character so many pixels following the X and Y axis. It just takes time to code it all in, but it also works pretty good. So it's just time. That's all. So once you've done the time for one creature and made him move all along this path, it's just a matter of using the exact same code for every creature in a cloning. And I mean, it's simple. All right, it's you only have to do the work once. Once the work is done the first time, you're good. Okay, so that's probably what we're going to do in the next episode. um, yeah. So if you guys have any questions again or ideas, don't hesitate to put them in the comments below. And if you wouldn't mind hitting the like and subscribe buttons down below as well, that would really, really be awesome. And we thank you for everything. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.